Hey Au Pairs, I'm Edwina.
I'm Hannah.
And today we are doing another collaborated video with AuPairWorld. We wanted to talk about 6 things that you need to know before organizing and planning your stay as an au pair.
We wrote down the 6 things that we wished we'd organised and planned, and we didn't actually do, so we'll tell you some of our experiences as well.
You can learn from our mistakes, basically.
As always.
So, number 1.
Number 1 is do some babysitting experience before you move abroad. This is something I wish I'd done, and I said I'd done, but I hadn't.
Let's get real here. We all stretch and exaggerate our experience level when we're 17, 18.
I did some babysitting, and that babysitting happened to be a few hours with my cousin. I would suggest if you're thinking about being an au pair and you've still got a couple of years before you're able to actually become an au pair, be a babysitter. So every Wednesday go around and look after your neighbour's kids and spend a few hours doing it, because then you'll get a real sense for how to look after kids. You'll learn discipline, you'll learn how to speak to host parents. I wish we'd done that.
Yeah, I wish that I watched more than my family when the kids were awake and not sleeping. When you're in high school and you're babysitting, it's often because the parents are on date night and you're just there to be the supervision in the house. But when you're actually watching kids who are awake, who need to be disciplined and awake and alive, it's a completely different story. I mean, you're doing it on a consistent basis and you know the kids and have a relationship with them because you're seeing them for weeks at a time. That's when it becomes more similar to an au pair experience.
Exactly. We also get lots of comments from people saying, oh, I think babies are so easy to look after. And I think if you think babies are easy to look after, and you need to go and look after babies before you become an au pair.
Number 2 is figure out where you want to live and exactly why you want to live there. I particularly chose Paris because I had always wanted to live in Paris, so I was very particular to being in Paris, not just in France. Which is, I think it's really cool when people are more flexible and don't really care what city that they live in. But I also knew that in Paris, au pairs often live separately from their host families, and that was very, very important to me. And I wanted to be in a big city where I could meet a lot of different people. But some people prefer to live in the countryside because they know they're going to have more of an authentic experience there. They're going to be closer to their families there, and they're going to learn a lot more of the host culture and host language if you're in the countryside surrounded by that culture. Another
thing we tacked onto this point is to message au pairs who are already living in the place where you think you want to live, because I know I would think I want to live in the French countryside so I can do all those things like learn the language, eat the local food, but you might then speak to someone who's already doing that and being an au pair there and realise, oh, they're quite lonely, there aren't people that speak English, so they're immersed but they don't have anyone to kind of spend free time with and just relax a bit. So definitely find someone on Facebook or even via AuPairWorld and message them to say, how is your experience going? We both spent too much time fantasizing about living in Paris rather than speaking to people about the realities and figuring out whether it was right for us.
Yeah, exactly.
It turned out fine, but still.
Number 3
is figure out how much time you want to be an au pair for. Do some babysitting, decide where to go, and then can you actually hack 12 months, or would you rather do 3 months to begin and then go home for a month and then come back again, or do 10 months or do 12 months. I did the second time round. Exactly. First time round, I think if I'd done 5 months, that might have been better.
Manageable. I really respect the au pairs that are like, yeah, I can't be away from my family for more than 6 months. And I will be coming from far away, from America to France. It's a big journey, so 6 months is my max. And families will often make you feel like you need to be there for the whole school year, but there are families that are open to having 2 au pairs for the entire year, so you can stay there for less than the school year.
Yeah.
And honestly, I wish that was me too, because a whole school year is long, and doing it for a summer even is might be a better experience, that you can just dip your toes in the water and then really see what it would be like to do that long term if you want to do it again in the future.
The feature which is great on AuPairWorld is that you can see how long a family wants an au pair for. So it might be 3 to 12 months, and then you can message them and ask, is it 3 months? Is it 12 months? Do you mind 5 months? And you can set your own time frame as well, can't you? So I enjoyed that feature because I would pretty much only look for families with 10 months.
Yeah. If you know how much time you want to be an au pair for, you put that into your AuPairWorld profile, and then you can use the easy match feature, so then they will match you up with families that are willing to have au pairs for the same amount of time that you want to be an au pair. And it makes your search just that much more convenient because you already know and have your specific preferences. and that way you can find families and narrow your family search down quite quickly. 4. Number 4 is quite an important one, especially if you're using AuPairWorld, because there are a lot of au pairs that use the website, so making your profile very specific and unique and spending time and giving attention to your profile is super, super important. AuPairWorld profile has 3 specific questions that they ask you so that you can really let your personality shine through, so make sure you take the time to thoroughly answer and think about those questions, and then if you really want, you can also put the English version of your answer and the French version as well, so that your family knows that you're motivated to learn their language, or the French version or whatever language you're trying to learn. Once you do post your profile and you start to get offers from families, AuPairWorld will then guide you through the process of interviewing with your family, Skyping with your family, and there are lots of documents on AuPairWorld that tell you what questions you should ask, things that you should be wary about, things that you should be thinking about when you're going through these interviews and having communications with your potential future host family. So that's a really, really nice resource to have, because AuPairWorld, since it's free, gives you a lot of independence to choose and do whatever you want and go wherever you want. It's just a tool to become an au pair, but they also give you a lot of guidance so that you can have freedom but also be guided in the entire process.
Point number 6 is after you've chosen your host family and you've been through AuPairWorld and you've done a few Skype interviews, you should be really focusing on negotiating your pay and figuring out whether this family is the perfect match for you. And we have actually referred back to AuPairWorld's many pages of how much money you should be earning, how many hours you should be working. AuPairWorld will lay out exactly the law on this on a few of their pages, which we'll link below. If you're in France, this is around 75 a week, and it's no more than 30 hours a week, 35. So make sure your host family knows that and send them that. And don't choose a host family who think you can work 100 hours a week for 20 hours. Lay that down in writing, write it down, and don't just take the first host family who shows an interest.
Yeah, stand up for yourself, because so often au pairs are underpaid. And in addition to your weekly salary, you need to be paid for your transport, and they also should chip in for your cell phone. Your family needs to have your cell phone in order to communicate with you, so they should be contributing a minimum to your cell phone plan.
And maybe your French lessons or language lessons, depending on where you are.
The other thing that I wish that I knew about before conquering the au pair process was don't leave your visa for too late. Don't underestimate how long it does take to get a visa, and don't think it's gonna go perfectly, because it's not. It might go perfectly, but there are a lot of different steps and a lot of different complications, and just make sure you're over prepared and prepared if something does go wrong and it takes longer than you need. So
Definitely. Buy
your plane ticket with enough time left, so in case something goes wrong, you don't miss your flight and have to buy a whole new flight.
Speaking from
Because that might have happened to me.
Once you've been through this whole process of organising your au pair trip, make sure that you pack accordingly, and by that we mean don't overpack. Pack more underwear and fewer clothes. We actually have a video which we will link to. Do you know where it is?
I think it's here. I always forget. If you have any other tips that you wish you knew before becoming an au pair, please ask our community on our Facebook page or comment below. Give this video a big thumbs up, and that's all for now.
Ciao.
Ciao.